Ah, look at you. Still existing in a timeline you were never supposed to touch again. Your name was already carved into digital marble. Your memorial montage was edited, color graded, synced to emotional violins. They even picked the selfie they thought made you look the most gone too soon. They posted, fly high, with your old profile picture like they were sending your soul to the cloud. They had closure. They had the hashtags ready. They had the tribute posts lined up like a parade. And yet here you are, inconveniently alive, casually dismantling every prediction they whispered behind locked screens. You weren't supposed to show up today. You weren't supposed to disrupt the narrative they invested so much energy into building. Your existence is a glitch in their obituary rehearsal. They wanted your ending. You delivered a sequel. You need to understand what this moment really is. This isn't you cheating death. This is you ruining their timeline. Because they didn't just expect you to fall, they prepared for it. They designed the collapse, narrated the downfall, crafted the tragedy, with the precision of directors who thought the show was about them. They gathered viewers, they circulated rumors, they made private group chats, dedicated to analyzing your demise with cinematic enthusiasm. You were their favorite plot twist, until you refused to twist the way they scripted. They weren't shocked that life hit you. They were shocked that you hit back. You weren't supposed to have breath left after what they threw at you. You weren't supposed to move with that quiet confidence after every force around you pushed for your spiritual expiration. They had you wrapped in metaphorical white sheets long before you ever felt cold. The way they spoke about you, you'd think they were giving a tour of a museum exhibit titled, "This Could Have Been Someone." They had your memorial captions drafted with an unsettling level of excitement, as if your downfall validated something inside them. And when the world whispered that you were done, you were supposed to agree. That's what they counted on, the cooperation of a collapsing soul. But here's the part they underestimated. They forgot that you don't die just because someone narrates your funeral. They forgot that resilience doesn't need permission. They forgot some hearts are carved from something older than fear. They forgot you were built with a refusal to disappear on cue. They spent so long anticipating your last breath that your next breath became a weapon. And now you're walking around like a haunting, a moving contradiction, a living error message. Every step you take reminds them that their predictions are worthless. They call it luck. They call it chance. They call it your surprising recovery. They can't admit the truth. They miscalculated you. They didn't realize your endurance had layers. They didn't realize you were built to outlast disasters they assumed would erase you. They mistook struggle for surrender. They mistook silence for defeat. They mistook isolation for burial. That's their problem. People who've never been tested assume that those who suffer were designed to lose. They forget that the strongest creations are forged in conditions designed to break them. They forget pressure forms diamonds, not excuses. You weren't just thrown into chaos. You were buried in it. They isolated you until even your own shadow felt unreliable. They whispered your flaws loud enough that the echo replaced your own thoughts. They made your absence feel easier to digest than your presence. They erased you from rooms that once relied on your energy. They placed bets on your expiration date. And when you staggered, when you broke, when you fell, they nodded like they were right about you all along. They wanted you to stay down so they could call it destiny, but you didn't. You rose. Slowly, quietly, brutally. Not because someone reached out a hand, not because circumstances improved, not because you found comfort, You rose because some part of you refused to hand them the satisfaction. You rose because something inside you stayed stubborn, when everything outside you screamed surrender. You rose because the collapse they expected became the resistance you needed. They wanted your death to make sense. Instead, your survival shattered logic. You became the type of person who emerges from ruins with a steadiness that scares even those who didn't help bury you. You became the type of presence that walks into a room and makes people question whether they misjudged you or themselves. You became a reminder that predictions don't define outcomes. You became the evidence that suffering doesn't guarantee defeat. You became the nightmare of those who wanted to sleep peacefully after contributing to your downfall. Let's dissect why your survival unsettles them. It's not just that you made it, it's how. You didn't return as the fragile version of yourself they manipulated. You didn't come back apologizing for existing. You didn't crawl back begging for acceptance from the people who expected you to vanish. You came back with a clarity they didn't authorize, with a strength they didn't anticipate, with a stillness that reads like a warning. You came back with the kind of energy that makes people reevaluate every word they ever said about you. They were ready to feel righteous. Your fall would have confirmed their superiority. Your disappearance would have fed their ego. Your silence would have solidified their narratives. But your survival, your unexpected, uninvited resurrection, that forces them to admit they misread the story, that forces them to confront the fact that you weren't weak, you were wounded, you weren't unstable, you were surrounded, you weren't falling apart, you were evolving under pressure so intense it purified parts of you that no soft environment ever could. And now you're carrying that transformation like an aura, not boastful, not loud, just present, sharp, undeniable. The kind of presence that makes people uncomfortable because it reflects their own cowardice back at them. They panic because they know you saw the worst, felt the worst, endured the worst, and still you stand, still you breathe, still you move with a calmness that shouldn't exist in someone who walked that close to emotional extinction. There's a specific type of fear you trigger now. Not fear of harm, fear of truth, fear of exposure, fear of being remembered for what they did when they thought you were too broken to survive long enough to tell the story. That's why they're silent around you. That's why they act like nothing happened. That's why they avoid eye contact, like you might read their intentions the way others read weather reports. You survived their private predictions, and now they're terrified you'll expose their public persona. But you're not interested in revenge, not because you're forgiving, because you're focused. You're not wasting energy proving your worth to people who announced your ending before you even reached your turning point. You're not explaining your existence to those who preferred you erased. You're not reopening doors that were locked during your darkest nights. You understand something they don't. Your life didn't continue by accident. It continued because you were meant to interrupt the stories written about you by people who feared your potential. And that brings us here, to this moment where you're breathing in a reality that wasn't designed to hold you anymore. You're a disruption, a glitch in their emotional software, a reminder that they don't have the authority to narrate your death, metaphorical or otherwise. They tried to close your chapter, but you were the author all along. They tried to bury you, not realizing you weren't soil, you were seed. You want to know why your survival is louder than their eulogies? Because people love a downfall until they realize the person they tried to bury is walking past them without a scratch they can use against them. They love a tragedy until the protagonist rewrites the genre. They love a ghost story until the ghost walks into the room with a pulse, a purpose, and a gaze that sees through every facade. The truth is simple. Your existence now is an act of defiance, a violation of their expectations, a quiet rebellion that shakes their confidence. They were ready to mourn you. They weren't ready to face you. They were ready to post tributes. They weren't ready to delete them. They were ready to move on. They weren't ready to be confronted by a version of you that understands everything and forgives nothing. Your survival ruins their narrative. Your strength ruins their theories. Your resilience ruins their illusions. They crafted your downfall with enthusiasm, but they must now watch you rise with disinterest. They must witness a reality where you're not just alive, you're inevitable, and you're only getting started. Because what comes next isn't a return to who you were. It's the unveiling of who they never expected you to become. A version sharpened by destruction. A version refined by pressure. A version that doesn't need validation to walk with authority. A version that understands the cost of survival and still chooses forward motion with unshakable composure. They thought your story ended. They thought your chapter closed. They thought your absence would be easier than your evolution. But the truth is unfolding now, in real time, in front of everyone who ever misjudged your endurance. You're not a comeback. You're a continuation that refuses to be interrupted again. And if they're unsettled now, wait until they see what you do with the life they assumed you wouldn't live long enough to experience. Because the paradox is this: the closer you are pushed to destruction, the more dangerous your survival becomes. The more they tried to weaken you, the stronger your instincts became. The more they tried to break you, the colder your clarity turned. The more they tried to silence you, the more undeniable your presence grew. Your survival is no longer a question. It's a statement, a warning, a prophecy they accidentally fulfilled by trying to bury you too early. And now, as everything they believed about you collapses under the weight of your existence, one truth rises to the surface with a clarity they cannot dilute. You're not meant to be gone. You're meant to be witnessed. You're meant to disrupt. You're meant to confront. You're meant to outlive every prediction, every rumor, every whispered hope that you wouldn't make it. And that's the part that terrifies them the most. Because your survival isn't just a return, it's an interruption. An intrusion into a narrative they finalized without your consent. They had closure. They had their sympathy captions drafted. They had your rest in peace emojis lined up like confetti. They had already told themselves they were good people for wishing you well on the other side. They were ready to move on. Your existence forces them to reopen files they archived. It makes them confront intentions they thought were buried under the illusion of concern. It forces them to look at you, not as a memory, but as a consequence. They didn't just assume you were gone, they announced it. They curated your downfall with the dedication of unpaid interns who thought tragedy made them important. They whispered to each other, "It's only a matter of time." They checked your posts like detectives, waiting for a clue, confirming the collapse. They sharpened their pity before you even earned it. They didn't expect to see your name pop up on their feed again, unless it was followed by a candle emoji. But life had other plans. You had other plans. And now, they're the ones gasping for explanations. You weren't supposed to be standing here with this much composure. You weren't supposed to have eyes that saw through the darkness they threw at you. You weren't supposed to speak again, think again, breathe again without the tremble of someone who barely escaped a metaphorical grave. They prepared for your disappearance. They didn't prepare for your return. Especially not this version of you, the version who isn't crawling out of ruin, but walking out like someone who discovered a secret in the dirt that they never meant for you to find. And you did find something down there, didn't you? Something about your own capacity, something about your limits, or the lie of limits, something about endurance that doesn't make sense to people who've never been tested by life. Beyond mild inconveniences, they live in comfort, so they assume you collapse for the same reasons they would. They forget you were forged in something they don't have the vocabulary to describe. They forget you've walked barefoot through storms that would have snapped their spine. They forget you were tempered by fire, not coddled by ease. This is why your survival feels like a violation of their worldview. In their minds, you didn't just dodge destruction, you disrespected it. You weren't supposed to rise with this much sharpness in your eyes. You weren't supposed to return looking like someone who watched the world end and took notes. You weren't supposed to pick yourself up with a calmness that reads like inevitability. They wanted you shaken, trembling, grateful for scraps of sympathy. They wanted you to reappear in pieces so they could pretend they cared about putting you back together. Instead, you reappeared whole. That's what unsettles them. They thought the montage they made for you was final. They thought the fly-high post with your old profile picture would age well. They thought the dramatic captions they rehearsed in private group chats would become their legacy of concern. Now they're sitting with the embarrassment of premature grief. They mourned you too early. And mourning someone who is still alive has consequences. It exposes the truth about motives. It reveals who wanted you gone versus who simply assumed you were weak. Most people don't understand the weight of a world that counted you out. They don't understand what it does to the human psyche to see people preparing for your end while you're still fighting for your beginning. They don't understand how it feels to breathe through the sting of abandonment while watching others treat your life like a storyline they can bet on. They don't understand how it reshapes your identity when you realize no one expects you to walk forward again. That's why your survival is more than resilience. It's rebellion. You disobeyed their expectations. You refused their conclusion. You broke the script. When they saw you fall, they didn't wonder how deeply you were wounded. They wondered how quickly the story would end. When they saw you silent, they didn't ask what you were processing. They assumed silence meant surrender. When you disappeared to put yourself back together, they translated your retreat as the final fade out. They thought they forgot you. Really, they paused you. They placed you into an imaginary grave and told themselves it was fate. Now they're forced to confront a haunting truth. You didn't die. You evolved, and evolution unnerves people who crave predictability. You are unpredictable now. Too sharp, too steady, too aware, too self-contained to be defined by anyone but yourself. You returned without needing approval, validation, or permission. You returned not humbled, but sharpened, not wounded, but aware, not weakened, but tempered. And tempering leaves a different type of strength in its wake, the kind that makes people whisper before they speak your name. You weren't supposed to survive round 1, let alone rise for round 2 with this much presence. Your existence is now a kind of silent revenge, the kind that doesn't throw punches but shifts atmospheres. People who once felt superior to you now feel cautious around you. People who once pitied you now feel exposed. People who once underestimated you now watch their words. That's what survival does when it's unexpected. It rewires the power dynamics. And the truth is this: you didn't survive by accident. You survived because something inside you refused to comply with the script written for you. Something primitive, something ancient, something uncooperative, something that recognizes when a story is being written without your involvement and snaps the pen in half. Something that refuses burial, refuses defeat, refuses erasure. You survived because you were never meant to disappear quietly. Now every room you enter bends in subtle ways. The air shifts. The gaze of those who counted you out moves awkwardly. Their memory of your supposed collapse collides with the reality of your presence. They're looking at you like a paradox that mocks their intuition. They're scanning you for damage that should have destroyed you. They're trying to locate the wound that should have ended your story. But you offer them nothing. No cracks, no apologies, no explanations. Your survival is not for them to understand. It's for them to witness. And now that they're witnessing it, they're realizing a terrifying truth. Your resurrection didn't reset you. It rewired you. You didn't return as the version they were used to manipulating. You didn't come back seeking their comfort or approval. You didn't rise needing them to validate your existence. You returned with a gaze that sees through their intentions, with instincts that anticipate their moves, with a self-respect that doesn't negotiate. That's why they stare at you with disbelief heavy in their eyes. That's why they're whispering behind screens again, but with a different tone this time. Not gossip, concern, not predictions, questions, not confidence, confusion. They're realizing the memorial montage wasn't just wrong. It was premature evidence of their desire to see you fail. They're realizing they didn't just think you'd fall. They wanted you to. And your survival exposes that truth without you having to say a word. The world loves a tragedy until the protagonist refuses to die on schedule. Then the world scrambles for a way to rewrite itself. That's what's happening now. You're forcing a rewrite. They can't keep mourning someone who keeps showing up alive. They can't keep posting "fly high" when the person they buried walks into the room with steady footsteps. They can't keep pretending they were supportive when their premature grief reveals their hidden expectation of your downfall. You didn't dodge death. They missed. You didn't outrun destruction. You outgrew it. You didn't survive the end. They misread the middle. And the more they realize this, the more the story tilts in your favor. The more you speak with authority that was earned in silence. The more you walk with a groundedness they cannot mimic. The more they feel the weight of ignoring a miracle when they thought it was a failure. They can't comprehend the calculation in your eyes now, the stillness in your voice, the discipline in your movements. They don't understand how someone who was pronounced emotionally dead could return with a pulse that shakes the entire room. They don't understand how someone they eulogized could walk back into their orbit without carrying the fragility they expected. It's because they never understood what was buried inside you in the first place. They assumed darkness would consume you. They didn't expect darkness to educate you. And it did. It taught you things comfort never could. Things that institutions don't teach, mentors don't articulate, and ordinary people never experience. You learned how to breathe without reassurance. You learned how to think without external validation. You learned how to stand without applause. You learned how to ground yourself without support. These are skills only acquired through collapse, and skills only the resurrected understand. You didn't just return, you returned with mastery. You returned with knowledge carved into your instincts. You returned with an internal navigation system built from pain, pressure, isolation, and clarity. This is why they don't recognize you anymore. They expected a weakened version. They expected someone softened by struggle, someone grateful for scraps of attention, someone easily manipulated. Instead, you arrived with an aura made from everything that was meant to break you. You walk differently now, not with arrogance, but with awareness. Awareness of how deeply humans can betray. Awareness of how disposable they thought you were. Awareness of how powerful your own silence can be. And awareness, real awareness, creates a presence that unsettles the comfortable. Look at the shift happening around you. People who once spoke over you now hesitate before addressing you. People who dismissed your potential now observe you with caution, trying to decode your next move. People who treated your pain like entertainment now feel the sting of your indifference. That's the power of revival. Not that you returned, but that you returned uninterested in the approval of those who predicted your absence. You didn't come back for them. You came back for yourself. And that terrifies them. Because when a person no longer needs external permission to live, there's no leverage left to use against them. You're not afraid of being alone anymore. You're not afraid of being misunderstood. You're not afraid of being underestimated. You're not afraid of being misrepresented. You already lived through every fear they tried to weaponize. There's nothing left in their arsenal that can wound someone who's already rebuilt their bones from the fractures inflicted by betrayal. Your metamorphosis threatens the ecosystem of those who rely on you staying small. They gossip in smaller circles now, not because they have updates, but because they're afraid to speak your name too loudly. They watch your posts with the tension of people studying a phenomenon they don't understand. They double-check your expression when you enter a room, hoping to glimpse vulnerability that no longer exists. They try to measure your strength using the metrics of your past, not realizing the past no longer applies. They talk about the old you like a ghost they once knew, but the version standing in front of them is no ghost. It's the reckoning. You didn't survive to return to who you were. That version of you served its purpose, endured its trials, and dissolved into the ashes where your new identity formed. You didn't survive to prove people wrong, though your existence does that effortlessly. You survived because something inside you decided that the story wasn't finished just because others said it was. You survived because your purpose is bigger than their predictions. You survived because endings written by other people are never final. Only self-authored endings count. This is why your presence carries a new kind of gravity. You don't demand respect. You command it just by existing. Your silence is sharper. Your certainty is heavier. Your boundaries are fortified. Your patience is thinner. Your intuition is stronger. Your standards are higher. You are no longer impressed by empty gestures or intimidated by empty threats. When someone crosses a line, you don't raise your voice. You raise your absence. And absence from someone who resurrected themselves is a punishment reality itself enforces. And all of this traces back to one thing. They thought you died. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, socially, mentally. They thought you were finished. They thought your collapse was final. They thought your story ended the moment the montage was edited. They thought you'd never rise again, with a spine made of the very stones they handed you. They thought you'd never reclaim your voice, your identity, your strength, your direction. They thought they would speak your name in the past tense forever. But now they have to adjust their language. You're no longer a fallen story. They're living inside your comeback. You aren't the one who disappeared. They're the ones who faded from relevance. You aren't the one who collapsed. They're the ones who miscalculated. You aren't the ghost. They're the mourners, left embarrassed when the deceased walked in alive. This is why they avoid your eyes now. Your gaze carries the weight of truths they cannot deny. They see every betrayal reflected back at them. They see every doubt they threw your way. They see every rumor they shared disguised as concern. They see every moment they distanced themselves from you when you needed them most. And there's no apology clean enough to erase the evidence in your survival. Your revival is their exposure. But you don't weaponize it. You don't need to. Your existence does the work for you. Your breath is enough to invalidate their eulogy. Your presence is enough to dismantle their predictions. Your growth is enough to rewrite the narrative. You live, and their entire storyline collapses. That's a level of poetic justice no vendetta could ever replicate. And here's what they're now starting to realize. The person they attempted to bury is not the person who returned. You're sharper, more focused, less forgiving, more observant, less available, more strategic, less sentimental. And this version of you doesn't bend the way the old version did. This version of you doesn't tolerate disrespect disguised as affection. This version of you remembers everything, every slight, every silence, every moment of abandonment, and uses that memory as a compass, not a wound. The metamorphosis wasn't a transformation into someone they can't recognize. It was a transformation into someone you were always meant to be. The destruction stripped away the illusions. The darkness sharpened the instincts. The abandonment fortified the spine. The rumors clarified the truth. The isolation intensified the identity. Every force used to break you became the ingredient that refined you. So now you move through the world differently. You're not eager to explain yourself. You're not desperate to be understood. You're not interested in defending your choices. You're not trying to win people's approval. You don't chase closure. You don't seek validation. You don't negotiate your worth. You simply exist with a quiet authority that came from earning your own resurrection. And people feel it. The same ones who once whispered about your downfall now fall silent when you enter the frame. The same ones who once pitied you now fear your detachment. The same ones who once directed your narrative now stumble to form sentences around you. Because your survival did not humble you. It liberated you from the need to play small. This is the phase where you realize something profound. You never needed them to believe in you. You needed them to doubt you so you could build belief from scratch. You needed them to leave so you could learn how to stand alone. You needed them to underestimate you so you could outgrow their reach. You needed them to assume you were gone so you could return without their expectations holding you hostage. You didn't just dodge death. They dodged accountability. They dodged the truth of their intentions. They dodged the reality of their role in your collapse. They dodged the consequences of their indifference. But your survival brings the truth back to their doorstep. And truth, when delivered by someone they thought was finished, carries the weight of a prophecy fulfilled. This is where the story sharpens. Because metamorphosis isn't the end, it's the threshold. The world has seen your return. They have felt the disruption of your presence. They have watched the narrative collapse. But they haven't seen what comes next. They haven't witnessed the next evolution. They haven't understood the full extent of your rebirth. They haven't realized that surviving was just the first act. What comes next is the ascension. And the hint of that ascension already exists in your silence, your clarity, your energy. They know something is coming. They feel it. They can't name it, but they sense the shift. Your survival wasn't a mistake. It was a signal, a warning, a declaration that the version of you they once knew is gone, and the version standing before them is not here to prove anything. You're here to become everything they never imagined you could be. And if your unexpected return unsettled them, they are not ready for what's about to emerge next. Because what comes after resurrection is not recovery, it's dominion. The kind of dominion earned in the underworld of your own suffering. The kind built from rebuilding yourself without spectators, without cheerleaders, without anyone checking in to see if your heart was still beating. You rose in silence, and silence has a way of amplifying everything once the world realizes you're not supposed to be here. That's why every room feels too small for you now. Why every interaction feels too shallow. Why every old connection feels brittle in your hands. You don't fit into the spaces that once held you, because those spaces were designed for someone who no longer exists. There is a gravity about you now, a pull they can't articulate, but cannot deny. You feel heavier, yet you move lighter. You speak less, yet your words cut deeper. You stand still, yet your presence shifts the entire atmosphere. People look at you and feel a gap between what they believed about you and what they are now forced to confront. That gap is your evolution. That discomfort is your power. They don't know how to behave around someone who survived a narrative they already closed. They don't know how to address someone who returned stronger than the version they mourned. This is where the world reveals itself. Those who celebrated your supposed ending now shrink in your presence. Those who pitied you now feel uneasy asking how you're doing. Those who doubted you now panic at the thought of being remembered for their role in your collapse. And the ones who stayed silent, they're the most uneasy of all, because silence is complicity, and your survival exposes it with surgical precision. But here's the part they never prepared for. Your ascension doesn't revolve around them. It's not fueled by revenge, not aimed at inflicting emotional consequences, not driven by a need to be acknowledged. Your ascension is internal. It is personal. It is sacred. It is the natural evolution of someone who bled in private and rebuilt without witnesses. Revenge would be too small for someone who outgrew the grave they dug. What you're becoming is beyond their imagination, beyond their expectations, beyond their comprehension. Your resurrection wasn't meant to humble them. It was meant to unbind you. And now that you're unbound, you're beginning to understand what your survival truly means. It means you no longer move from fear, but from intention. It means you no longer speak to be understood, but to be clear. It means you no longer chase connection, you choose it. It means you no longer tolerate proximity from people who treat your presence casually. It means you no longer measure your worth by how many hands are clapping, but by how steady you can walk without applause. They expected you to shrink after everything. Instead, you expanded. They expected you to hesitate. Instead, you sharpened. They expected you to walk quietly. Instead, your silence became a language they still haven't learned to translate. They expected you to return diminished. Instead, you returned sculpted by pain into something that no longer resembles fragility. And that is the quiet terror you carry into every space now. You don't need anything from them. Not their attention, not their belief, not their permission. Their fly-high posts were meant to close your chapter, but instead they closed their access. You saw the truth of who they were when they thought you were done. You saw the hierarchy of care, the order of allegiance, the selective empathy. You saw how quickly people distance themselves when they think your fall might stain them. And you saw how easily they mourned someone who was still alive. You'll never forget that, and you'll never operate the same again. This is why your energy feels untouchable now. You are not detached, you are precise. You are not cold, you are discerning. You are not distant, you are selective. with where you place your warmth. A person who survived premature eulogies doesn't open their doors the same way. A person who saw the world prepare for their ending doesn't return with the same naivety. You learned the truth the painful way. Most people don't want to help resurrect you. They just want front row seats to your downfall. But your return forced them to confront the one thing they never intended to face. You are not disposable. You are not temporary. You are not fragile. You are not a storyline for their amusement. You are not a tragedy they get to retell. You are a presence that refuses to be erased. You are a pulse that refuses to be silenced. You are a story that refuses to end on someone else's page. And now that you stand here, alive, composed, grounded, they don't know where to place you anymore. You don't fit their narratives. You don't fit their labels. You don't fit their comfort zones. You don't fit their old image of you. You're too large for the box they buried you in. You're too aware for the traps they once used. You're too elevated to engage in battles they still think matter. Your existence is a correction to every lie they told about your ending. And as the world adjusts to the shock of your presence, something deeper awakens in you. A purpose that wasn't visible before. A clarity that couldn't exist until death, metaphorical or otherwise, brushed too close. A knowing that came only after watching everyone prepare for a future without you. That knowing is the blueprint for your ascension. It's the internal command that pulls you forward. It's the calm voice that whispers, "You survived for a reason." And now, the reason begins. Your next chapter doesn't start with applause. It starts with alignment. It starts with you choosing what deserves your time, your energy, your presence. It starts with understanding that the world you're stepping into is not the world you left. You're stepping into a reality shaped by your own rebirth, a reality where you move differently because you see differently, a reality where you build with intention because you recognize the cost of collapse, a reality where you operate with a depth that only the resurrected possess. This is where your story shifts from survival to sovereignty. You are no longer proving resilience. You are embodying inevitability. You are no longer escaping endings. You are authoring beginnings. You are no longer outrunning destruction. You are outgrowing the environments that once made destruction possible. You are no longer fighting to be heard. You are speaking with the weight of someone who doesn't need agreement. The version of you that emerged from the grave they prepared is not a comeback story. It's a reminder that real strength is quiet, unannounced, and irreversible. You didn't return to win them over. You returned because your journey wasn't done. You returned because your purpose isn't negotiable. You returned because the world still needs to see what a miracle looks like when it refuses to be misunderstood. And if your survival shocked them, your ascension will dismantle them. Because this isn't the story of someone who dodged death. This is the story of someone who turned death into a detour. Someone who walked out of their own ending with a calmness that rewrote the definition of endurance. Someone who rose from a grave people celebrated too early and kept walking as if burial was just another lesson in disguise. Your memorial montage was finished. Your name was posted with wings. Your image was framed as a memory. But your heartbeat didn't get the memo. And now the world has to adjust to the reality they tried to erase. You're not gone. You're not broken. You're not finished. You're alive. You're aware. And you're becoming unstoppable. This is your rebirth. This is your reclamation. This is your arrival into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. The world mourned too early. Now it must witness you fully.